You are listening to the Self Trust Solution Podcast with Dawn Leday, episode number 107. Welcome back. Today we are joined by Sheilanova, also known as the Anxious Attachment Coach. And she has a refreshing take on anxiety as it relates to relationships. This episode is for you if you've ever found yourself overthinking your relationships, doubting your worth, or feeling insecure in love. Whether you're navigating dating, working on building emotional security, or simply want to feel more confident in yourself, today's conversation with Sheilanova is packed with insights that will help you create a healthier relationship with your emotions and transform how you show up in love and life. Welcome, Sheilanova.
Hey, Dawn. Thanks so much for having me.
So excited to have you here. You are the anxious attachment coach. How could someone recognize if they are anxiously attached?
All right. So, when you catch feelings for someone, and then all of a sudden you cannot stop obsessing about that person. They live in your head rent free. If they don't text you back and it's been 4 hours, all of a sudden you can't focus at work. You are just in your mind going, did I ruin it? Did I say something wrong? Maybe they're, interested in someone else. I'm not really. And it could even be just by the second or the third date. You might describe this as fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, but every time it just seems that once you catch feelings for a person, you lose your mind and you feel deeply insecure. And a lot of people will describe anxious attachment as being kind of rooted in low self-worth, but a lot of anxious attached women, especially like myself used to be, I never identified with low self-worth. I was very, very confident on the outside until I caught feelings for a guy. And by the way, anxious attachment doesn't just apply to women. I specifically work with women, but this can apply across genders and across sexualities. You might always find yourself in a position where it just never seems like a guy's going to commit to you. Like he wants to have sex with you. He wants to take you out. He seems to want to hang out with you and do boyfriend, girlfriend, partner-y type of things. But at the end of the day, he's like not going to commit.
Love about what you just said is you don't have to feel low self-worth to feel insecure.
I think there's a distinction. For me, I never identified with low self-worth because I was always so confident in my career, in my job, or, trying to talk to people or trying to get, market sponsorships or whatever I was doing back then. And for me, that I felt really confident in that. And so, when people would kind of point this out to me, oh, this is insecurity, this is anxiety, this is low self-worth, I'd be like, no, I'm none of that. But it actually is. So just because you don't identify with that doesn't mean that it really is, because the root of all anxious attachment is a belief that sounds something like, I'm not truly worthy until I'm chosen, or there's something intrinsically wrong or unlovable about me. That is like the core inner belief. And so how this might appear in relationships when you start dating someone is all of a sudden you start really liking them. And then you're like, oh my God, once they get to know the real me, they're going to run. And that's also typically your experience as well. Wow. And so it's just this constant feeling of either I'm in a relationship with someone who doesn't want to commit to me, or I'm in a relationship with someone who really loves me and I'm still afraid they're going to reject me or leave me or go like somebody else or fall in love with someone else or cheat on me or if, on the other side, if I can't get them to commit to me, I'm constantly obsessed on their whereabouts. I might make burner social media accounts to check up on them. I might drive by their house. I mean, it could go anywhere from a lot of soft stalking to even like driving by someone's house, just because what is happening is you are trying to manage this like intense anxiety that is coming up within you, and you're trying to constantly relieve that. And so this can look like need the constant seeking of reassurance or approval or a validation in another person, whether they love you, whether they like you, whether they're interested. I
Yeah.
once even had a client who was like, I swear to God, every man that I ever match with on Hinge turns out to be married. She's like, like the universe is playing some sick, cruel joke on me because every man I like turns out to be married. Um, just it's almost like you might have mastered every other area of your life, but it seems like when it comes to relationships, you completely lose your mind.
So it's almost like this magnifying glass for insecurities that you wouldn't necessarily identify with having in the rest of your life.
Yeah, that's it. And for a lot of people, especially like me, that was the case. I was like, I feel like I'm great at everything else, but when it comes to relationships, I either can't get anyone to commit to me, or I completely lose my mind. Like I turned into a crazy person.
It can add an extra layer of confusion to it. Like
Oh
here I
yeah,
am
yeah,
confident and able and capable, and I'm a catch, and I'm all of these things. And yet,
yeah.
here's
You're like, why am I great at everything else and I can't figure this stuff out? Now, that's not everyone's experience. That was my experience. I know a lot of people can relate to that. And sometimes you'll be like, well, this sort of shows up at work or with my friends or in certain areas, but it's most pronounced in the relationships, in the romantic relationship.
yeah. And so you mentioned that a lot of anxiety comes up. Anxiety comes up in various ways throughout that experience, worrying about the universe maybe being against you or believing that this is just not meant for you or that you can't have it.
Yeah.
And you have this brilliant concept about becoming best friends with your anxiety. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah. So many women come to me and they're just like, I'm sick of this part of myself. I hate this part of myself. I hate that I do this. And I'm like, this is why it's still a problem. This is why we still have this issue. Because if you ask me, like, what did I like this part of me that was so anxious, that was so obsessed, the minute I befriended her, the minute I started to love her, the minute I was like, babe, okay, I know this is what we're dealing with. Tell me everything. I'm like ready to hear you. I'm ready to accept that you're here, was when things started to actually change. So our whole society is like, get rid of anxiety, medicate with it, get rid of it. It's bad. People will say things like, I battle with my demons. I battle with anxiety. I'm trying to fight this off. And when you think of your own anxiety and your own obsessive thoughts like this and your own insecurities like these, they will intensify.
Yes, for sure. How we
I mean,
talk to ourselves matters, right?
you could think of it like, a toddler. And for anyone, listening to your podcast who has children knows this. It's like when your toddler is all whiny and is like, are having a tantrum, telling them to like shut up makes it so much worse. Or even like dismissing them, like, no, 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 it's going to be fine. Like, it's not a big deal. I mean, they just lose their minds because they want to be met with understanding and with compassion and with love and being accepted right where they're at. And this part of your anxiety, if you are experiencing this when you catch feelings for someone, this part of yourself wants to be loved by you, wants to be seen by you, wants to be accepted and cared. And that's just the first step to becoming best friends with anxiety. So you want to think of, there's you that doesn't have anxiety, that doesn't have thoughts or feelings. It's like your consciousness, your awareness. Some people call this your soul. And then there's your mind with all these thoughts and feelings. And it just is like all day long. And sometimes it's about, oh, what do I need to pick up at the grocery store? And I got to get this and I got to plan for this. And sometimes it's like, oh my God, what if he doesn't like me? And what if he's really, hung up on someone else and I don't really know what to do? And maybe I should go look at it, all the people who've ever liked his Instagram photo and check out these people's profiles, right? It does these different things. And so if we can see ourselves as separate from these thoughts and feelings, this is going to greatly help us. One, when we believe that our awareness, our essence, our soul, whatever you want to call it, is the thought and the feeling. We lose our damn minds over it. And so when you befriend something, you want to think of it like something that is separate from you, because all of your friends they have different bodies, right? You are not your friends. You invite them in your house though, but you're not your friend, literally. Like you're not their body. And you want to think of your anxiety like this.
We don't have to believe everything we think. And there are things to pay attention to, but they don't have to be taken for face value, because when we
Right.
do that and we automatically believe them, then our brain loves to go and build a case for it.
Yeah. And so the first step to befriending your anxiety is making it into something that you can either objectify or personify. So when you objectification, by the way, gets a pretty bad rap because we think of it as like objectifying women, which is not a good thing. We don't want to do that. But if you objectified a feeling within your body and you're like, and I said, if I could pull this feeling or this swarm of thoughts out of your head, if I could pull this kind of energy out of your body and you kind of handed it over to me and I was holding it, what might I be looking at? It's a question I often ask my clients. And I've heard anything from it looks like a ball of fire to it looks like a little kitty to it looks like a ball of hay, anything, right? That's objectification because now I am watching something that I can tell is not me. If I'm watching this object of these swirling thoughts and feelings, then I can notice that I am not that object. And then if I'm not that object and yet it's still there, I can pause and be like, wait, what is it like to be me, the thing that is not this? Okay, that's the first step. Now you can personify it by asking simple questions like, if there's been a message for me that you've been wanting me to hear or something that I haven't been giving you, what might that be? And then your job is to completely allow whatever comes up. So just to watch it, right? And so once you personify this, I like to sort of call it a little bit of an entity. You can think of it as an energy or an object or something, whatever it is. That first step is you want to make that part of you or that entity, in a sense, feel seen, heard, valued, respected, even if it's rooted in illogical, like thought thinking. You, because if I am here and creating space for anyone to feel seen, to feel loved, to feel accepted by me, it doesn't mean that I'm agreeing with your thoughts or its thoughts. It just means it's like, oh, I totally get why you feel this way. Of course you feel this way. Of course you're freaked out. This makes total sense. What I often do is I call this part of me babe.
Hmm.
Oh my God, babe, tell me everything. What's going on? I got you. Oh, of course oh my God, of course you're afraid. Come here. Right? Now, once that part of me feels seen and heard and loved by me, which by the way is a core need for every human being, right? So it's like you're giving yourself this, then that part of you transforms into what you might call wisdom or peace or a sense of security or a sense of accomplishment or an epiphany or an insight. And this part of you that is so amped up will, like, for better lack of words, just calm the F down. And when you start to have a relationship like this with yourself, where this ramped up, anxious, you know, ball of energy, entity, whatever you want to call it, when it's like, oh, I can come to you for anything because you're going to see me, you're going to hear me, you're going to love me, you're going to accept me. We're going to become like a teammate, like almost like equals in a sense. So it's not talking down to this thing. It's like, hey, we're equals. Like, I'm here for you. We're going to work together through this. We end up believing in something new that doesn't feel forced or faked, like an affirmation.
Hmm.
So, for example, if this part of me goes, No, you just don't really understand. I really am unlovable. If you look at all the evidence, you will see. And I'm like, I totally get it. Of course you are. And then once this part of me feels seen by me and feels like, okay, it really hears me, I'm not going to try to push you away. There's like a sense of respect created between the two of us. And then I can start getting its consent to help me out and think something new. And that can look like, hey, I know this might sound crazy, but I need your help with this. I need your help because I I think you have the answers. And that's like we have this belief right now called I'm unworthy, I'm unlovable just as I am. If this actually wasn't true and we did and it was actually the opposite, like we were 100% lovable, for example. Why might that be? Now, how I teach my clients how to do this is you don't answer that. You let this anxious part of you answer it. Because when that happens and it eventually finds a new answer after repeated doing this back and forth many, many times, the answer will feel real to you and not forced or fake.
I love how you said you don't have to believe it to show up for it, to
Yeah.
make it known that it's seen and heard.
Yeah. It's like the same thing with your kids. When your kids have a total meltdown because you broke, I'm talking toddler specifically, because I have a almost 4-year old. This is my
The reality.
this is my life right now, right? It's like if I accidentally cut a banana in half and that wasn't the idea in my child's mind, and now in her mind, that's all ruined, right? Everything is ruined. Her pain is that is a very real and painful experience for her. I know she's not going to die. But that is a very real and painful experience for her. And so when I can be like, oh, baby, of course, I can totally see why you didn't want me to cut the banana. That makes sense. I'm not saying, no, 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 it's all fine. I'll get you another banana. I'm acknowledging that she's in pain and I'm loving her no matter what. That's the kind of relationship you want to develop with yourself because just like kids, when they feel seen and heard and loved by you, it's like they're like, "Oh yeah, I have a great idea. Or I can get on with it or I can come up with a new solution."
Hmm.
This part of your anxiety actually does the same. Transforms into wisdom, it transforms into security, and you also knowing that you are separate from it will help you to feel more secure as well.
What we teach in the self trust lab is you become a safe space.
Yes.
Tell yourself the truth. You become a safe space to
Yeah.
be truly honest, even when you know some of it's illogical. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's not a
Yeah.
problem. It doesn't mean that you're illogical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll give you even, I just had this come up for myself. I don't have the anxiety like I used to, but I still have anxiety. And there are some times where there will be some type of life event that for some reason, on whatever level, I'll have a similar reaction to. I'll give you an example, which happened more recently over the summer. I went viral on Instagram and I thought, like, and in my mind, this is sort of a goal I wanted to reach more people. I had always thought this would kind of happen. And you would think, oh, this is such an amazing thing. And I was like having the most anxiety that week
Mm.
that I had had probably in years. And when I finally met myself with, I mean, I had so much anxiety, I was getting paranoid. It was like the thoughts of everyone hates me now. Everyone hates me. All of my clients definitely hate me, and I'm going to be canceled. Like it was just kind of like this paranoia of everyone hates me. And I started to see like I can see first that I'm viewing the world through this lens. I know this isn't real, but it feels very real. Okay. But then when I met this part of me and I just asked her, I was like, hey, babe, what's this really about? And immediately it was like, I'm so afraid, right? I'm so afraid. I put my heart over my hand over my heart. And I was like, oh my God, of course, babe. And just like I cried with her,
Mm.
right? It's like, and then when that part of me felt so safe with me, it was like, oh, you get me. I was like, of course you do. It was like, that's all she needed. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
great. This is not a problem anymore.
Yeah. we can make it such a bigger thing than it is, because if we haven't learned to create a safe space to be honest and open and vulnerable with ourselves,
Yeah.
then it makes it really hard to get to that solution. And by practicing that for yourself, look how short that happened and how readily available she was to share with you the truth that she was just afraid.
Yeah. I'm just afraid. And will you
So
just hold me
beautiful.
and like, let's cry together? I was like, done. You got it. Right.
That's such a good example of, I was going to ask you what's the result of this improved relationship, but that's such a good, like, real time example of how, and you can share more about this, but how the result of doing this work of becoming best friends with your anxiety, become best friends with yourself and your feelings, and creating that safe space. Yeah.
Right. Because if you have anxiety that pops up and then your relationship that is to think, oh my God, this again, like why? Like we've only been on 2 dates with this guy. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. That's going to intensify it. That's going to make it all worse because it's not being met with compassion from you. It's being met with dismissive, disregarded. And, I think, to your point, it's like, what is the result of all this? Like when this happens? Well, for my clients, this it can especially show up in when they'll tell me like, holy shit, I just went a whole day and this guy didn't text me and I like didn't even think about it. Like I forgot that I had texted him and he was going to text me back. Like I forgot. Or it can look like um swiping right and matching with someone on Bumble, you having a conversation with them and you just don't feel so attached. Like you're like, well, I don't really know them yet. I'm getting ready to know them. Like I'm interested in, it's not like, oh my God, maybe this is the one. Maybe he's going to like me. It's like, or if he doesn't like me, it's fine. It looks like being able to ask harder questions when you're dating, things like, what's the hardest thing to date about you? Like, what's the hardest thing when it comes to you, how do I what's the hardest thing about you when dating you? Or what do you want in a relationship? Or what are you looking for? Like asking those really deeper, harder questions up front because you're not scared of the answer and you're also not scared so much. So if someone is going to reject you based on your answer, you're
Mm,
like, if they're going to reject me, then like that would be that's a like that's good, right? It's like, I want someone to reject me if this is a deal breaker for them. Like, for example, if they don't want to have kids and get married, or if they don't want to have this kind of relationship, then yeah, I want to know that day one, not 6 months down the road, because I'm
mm,
hiding and trying to like show up as an inauthentic version of myself.
Does that sort of tie into, you've mentioned slow dating?
Maybe you might want to call it more intentional dating. Um,
We'll take
yes,
that.
it's like, yeah, it's like letting people show you who you are on the dating. And also, what I find is that when my clients master this skill, what's going to happen is that you're just going to weed out people a lot faster on the dating scene. Like you're less, you're actually, you might even match with more people, but you're less likely to go on first dates with them because you're kind of weeding them out on the front end. And it's not like you're looking for red flags. You're just like, the depth of where how you've met yourself will be how the depth you'll meet other people, and it will become very clear if they're not able to meet you at that level, or if you end up date people for a lot less for the people who are not a good match, instead of drawing it out like I used to do for 2.5 years.
Because you're not looking to the other person to tell you what you want. You are coming in clean with what you want, and then you're able to identify whether that's a match or not.
Exactly. And if you do ever have insecurities, because that's normal too, even in the early on in the dating stage, you're not looking to that person for reassurance, or at least not as much, at least not obsessively or constantly. Asking for reassurance every once in a while, it's totally normal. All of us do that. And I don't need to look to you to ease my insecurity around this. I'm going to look to myself. And I'm also going to notice that I'm separate with it. And I'm going to carry it like a very loved friend.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Sheilanova. This is so helpful. And people can find you one by following you on Instagram at Sheilanova.
Sheilanova. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sheilanova. Sheilanova.
perfect. And if they want to learn how to become best friends with their anxiety, you have this amazing in-depth instruction for that. Tell us about it.
Yes. So if you want a step-by-step instructional video on exactly how to befriend and become best friends with this part of yourself, this anxious attached part of yourself, you want to watch this video. It gives you a step-by-step guide on how to do this. It goes into more in depth than we even went in here. It's completely free, and you can find it on my website, superpoweryourmind.com/unlock. It's called Unlock Emotional Security.
You definitely want to go and grab that. Thank you for your time, Sheilanova.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
What will you take away from today's episode? Here are a few highlights that stood out to me. You don't have to believe you have low self-worth to feel insecure. You can have insecure moments and confident moments without either defining who you are. You don't have to agree with your insecurities and fears to show up for them, for yourself, and listen with compassion. And my favorite, you can make friends with your anxiety, not pushing it away, but inviting it in and taking care of yourself through it. I hope this episode inspired you to create more connection with yourself and all of your emotions. Sheilanova shared so much wisdom today. And if you're ready to become best friends with your anxiety, don't forget to check out her video, Unlock Emotional Security. This is an amazing opportunity to jumpstart your emotional security and learn from Sheilanova and all her wisdom. You'll find the details in the show notes. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode, and a huge thank you to Sheilanova for sharing their wisdom with us. Remember, self-trust is the foundation of all growth. And the insights we heard today are powerful tools to help you on your journey. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and check out the links in the show notes for more on today's guest and how to connect with them. Until next time, keep building that self-trust and keep going after what you want. Are you struggling to follow through on your goals even though you know what you want? You're not alone. Doubts, distractions, and second guessing can make it feel impossible to move forward. That's why I created the Self-Trust Lab, a simple yet profound path to success. With the 3E Success Method, you'll master 3 core skills, overcome 3 common obstacles, and cultivate 1 essential trait, self-trust. This proven approach clears the mental clutter and gives you the tools to achieve your goals with clarity and confidence. It's more than a better way, it's the foundation for everything you're capable of achieving. Ready to step into your potential? Join the Self-Trust Lab today and begin your self-trust fueled journey at theselftrustcoach.com/the Self-Trust Lab. See you inside.